Welcome to Coffee Conversations with Les and Paul, 30 Minutes for God.
A podcast sponsored by Piedmont Road Church of Christ and Ministry League.
We're here to discuss Bible topics just as if we were asking Jesus himself. I am Paul Sperlin.
And I am Les Sandifer, and we hope you will enjoy our relaxed Bible-based discussions.
Thanks for joining us as we think about and talk about all those things we'd ask Jesus over a cup of coffee.
Bam.
That's a new one.
I think I said it way back in
I don't
one
remember.
of the first five,
I got you.
and here we are.
So you're
Way
saying you're kicking
down.
it old school.
I'm kicking
We
it
have
old,
old school.
That sounds like a song
Of course it does.
from
course.
from the 80s.
I know.
Everything sounds like a song to me. That's
Yeah,
what
it
you're
does.
getting at, isn't it?
I love it, though. I absolutely love it. It's part of your charm. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it to the table.
Oh no, I took a drink, and sometimes it goes down wrong, and I'm gonna cough. Sorry.
Okay. Les has to cough.
My apologies.
Paul has to talk. Here we go.
Paul has to talk.
This is the show. We have our Bibles open. We have, this is the Coffee Conversation with Les and Paul, 30 Minutes for God. We thank you for joining us here on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon.
That's right.
As it comes out every Tuesday at 1 o'clock, and we're glad Eastern Standard Time, of course.
Eastern.
So thank you for being with us. Thank you for listening to us. Thank you for everything. If you have a question about anything at all, please shoot us an email. At what? At coffeeconvo@lifeinchrist.com. Send us a question, comments, anything we can help you with, or a suggestion for the show. Now's the time. If you have a suggestion for the show, it may actually happen. So send us some stuff. We'll get to it. Of course, there's another show. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes, but we do want to thank Piedmont Road and Ministry League for being our sponsors, and this is it.
For our listeners out there, do you ever have one of those days where you're not entirely sure you're on your A game? Well, Paul and I have had that discussion before we jumped into this one, so
Yeah.
we've got to work our way through it.
We do.
That's life, though.
Yeah,
I mean, and that's one of the things about the podcast where
it is.
we're super honest with you guys about
That's true.
what's going on. Try to give you when the air quotes happen. To try to tell you when we're.
All the back. What am I trying to say?
I don't know, but
Think of words.
the,
Behind the curtain, things that happen that you don't see otherwise.
the interesting thing here is I don't know if we feed off each other or it's just coincidental timing that we both had a little bit of something,
Yeah,
that made us go, not all in the A game, but
but we're here.
I'm sure by the time we get another 3 minutes in
Into
this,
it. Yeah, for sure.
things are going to feel different.
Yeah.
So what do you want to talk about?
Well,
What's on your mind?
We want to continue to so many things.
So many.
Yeah, I'm pondering over it. I know.
He's-
So
Just pick one. Well, we said grace, didn't we?
we did.
We said that last week, so you can't
did.
change that. Well, you can't. You can change your course.
We've
of
done a
direction.
lot lately. We talked about worship. We talked about your heart. We talked about where you are in your life.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of things I think that that is a part of life that sometimes we take lightly. And I think grace is definitely one of them. That's one of the things we'll talk about today.
Yeah, sounds good. You got a scripture reference in mind?
I'm going to start here in Colossians chapter 3,
Okay,
starting verse 12.
verse 12. All right,
Starting at verse 12.
it's a good place to start.
Yeah.
So
And
why the topic?
I don't know. I think it kind of goes with the whole church thing, and I think it's something we receive as God's kids, as God's children, is that He does offer grace. He gives us things and things that we can do, and I think by turn, I think we are given an opportunity to offer that to other people as well. And so it's part of life, part of the daily, So
We did talk a little bit before we came on the air about the concept of grace.
yeah, we had a lot of back and
what do you-
forth.
Did you resolve it in your mind? Is grace just a God to humanity, or is it a humanity to humanity thing?
I think it's a God to His children kind of thing.
Okay.
I mean, I think if you're not, I mean, correct me on this, but I think if you're not obedient to God, do you receive grace or do you call it something else? Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, it's a fair
mean,
point.
because-
And, I mean, in the world of how God interacts with us, grace is unmerited
Yeah,
favor.
unmerited
It's,
favor.
it's
for
something
sure.
we
That's
don't,
good
we can't
definition.
really earn.
Mm-hmm.
not something we really deserve.
And that is the definition. That is the definition of grace.
Yeah.
Unmerited favor. Good job.
So I'm wondering if we could translate that into our humanity relationships.
But people in the world, people that do not go to church, people who are an unchurched people, or, of course, there are a billion people in the world who say they love Jesus, but are they following the plan that he gives us in the Bible? You know, they call it something else. If we say this is the grace of God, you know, to the grace of God, you know, we have this opportunity, or another day, or, you know, that opportunity.
Right.
You know, you have that. But in the world, they don't see it that way. They don't think about, they may throw the word grace around, but I don't think they truly understand what the benefit is of being in his church and his family to receive that.
Yeah, I've never,
you know?
I don't recall ever
They call
really
it fate.
pulling up grace like in a search.
Yeah.
To see in a Bible search where the word's used and how it's used.
Right.
Because I've always really just thought of it in the way you initially kind of said it.
Right.
It's God to his children.
Yeah.
And ultimately, from God's point of view, he's not extending grace. I mean, I think the Bible's pretty clear on that. He's not extending grace to those that refuse to acknowledge him, to those that are not trying to live by the principles that he gives us.
Right.
So I think that's a pretty easy one to answer.
I think so too.
Yeah. It's just I never really thought about it in the concept of how we deal with one another, because it's a pretty common thing, I think. It's a pretty common thing to hear people say, extend grace to them.
Right.
Because, you know, whatever their application in life is, they're having a struggle and they're being mean to you. Extend them some grace.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this is nuancing a word too hard, but I'm not entirely sure that's an appropriate use of the word. You know, I think about fellowship the same way. We use that word pretty flippantly about how we interact with people, when I think it's, for a Christian, it's a really very specific thing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're interacting with other Christians.
For sure.
So in general, you wouldn't go to a school banquet and say, I fellowshipped with all the people at the school. But that's how the world uses it. They use it in a general sense, like it's something you do when a group of people get together.
Right.
Just whatever group.
Yeah, and that's without utilizing the proper definition of what fellowship is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's fair. So maybe grace is the same way. It's just kind of been co-opted into use.
Yeah, I think so. I think, you know, and there's other examples of the use of the word, like a grace period. You know, you get a certain period of time where you can get things done, and I'm gonna put pause on the end factor to this.
Okay.
While you do the things that you need to do, I got grace. So I think from the world's perspective, and don't be confused as to what we're talking about. We're not defining grace. We're defining how can we offer grace to others.
Okay.
And so that being said, I think it comes under the guise of kindness and compassion.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is a part of that, and I think the passage here in Colossians 3, verse 12, starting that kind of throws that out there.
I bet if folks listening to this wanted to give us some feedback, they could offer some thoughts on this.
They sure could.
So it'd be nice if we heard from them.
We'd love to share their thoughts.
Yeah, just come up to us if you see us.
Yeah, or shoot us an email. I mean, coffeeconvo@lifeinthecross.com.
Yeah, there's one person in particular I'm thinking of that I have some conversations with, and he likes to give me a hug every time I see him.
Uh-huh.
And I know he listens to this show.
Okay.
So maybe he should come up and say the word grace to me.
That's funny.
And then I'll know he really listened to it.
If you listen to our show, come up to Les and or Paul and say grace.
And just walk away.
Let that be it.
And just walk away.
And then we give each other high fives and say thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for
and we'll know what it means.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, Colossians 3.
Yeah, so you put on then, Colossians 3, starting verse 12, as God's chosen ones, holy and beloved, compassionate hearts, kindness, humility, which is interesting. We'll talk about that this morning, meekness, and patience. Verse 13 brings about a whole other thing. But I think that gives us some aspects of what it means to offer grace. that passionate hearts and that kindness and that humility, meekness, the patience. That just means I think we give time, and we're there to help provide the good things within that time frame. You know, we don't want to just make this a completely academic thing, where we want to define this word to its death, but we just want to enlighten the listener, you people, us, as to what grace is. And the reason why we're talking about this is because it's a part of being a part of the body of Christ, but it's also something we just don't talk about that much.
Right.
We just don't talk about it that much. Now, grace won't save you. Okay? You can't hope for grace and say, I'm going. There are things that we must do. There are ways in which we must meet the Master. You know, obey Him, live for Him, follow His plan, obviously become baptized, and just as He was buried, we should be buried. And then we start in the newness of life. And then I think at that point, we'd start receiving grace from God. He gives us opportunities to be able to do things.
Right.
You know, He gives us opportunities to have opportunities.
Gives us opportunities to
Offer opportunities.
Okay.
I think that's a thing. I think it kind of puts us in a place to where we can do stuff and help people. And I think by that, God empowers us to be able to offer that same grace to other people.
Okay. Here's
the question.
Uh-oh.
I know. And I said it before. We never answered it.
You don't normally ask me questions.
I don't know. No, but I yearn for the answer here.
Okay.
And maybe you have it, maybe you don't. Maybe we can find it together. Or maybe the listener can shoot us an email or say grace in our face someday. But anyway, who are we offering grace to? Our brethren, or, for lack of better terms, the lost? I mean, because I can't offer something to the lost and then be saved. Let's just start there. There is nothing that Paul or Les can say or do to someone in a lost state that suddenly would put them in a safe place.
Fair.
Now, there's things we can say that lead them down the pathway to obedience.
But it's their choice.
It is their choice.
Yes, they have to make a decision.
Absolutely, yes.
And
so that's why we're having this conversation, because I want to make sure, because there's a lot of folks that use the word grace and think grace is going to save me. No, it doesn't.
Right.
This is what it is, and there's a difference.
I'm pondering what you asked. I think when we look at a lot of what Paul wrote to the various churches, he's writing to Christians. Mm-hmm. So he's admonishing them as to how to treat one another, right?
Right.
How to go about their business. But and nothing jumps out at me immediately for a cross-reference, but there are some teachings from Paul where he's talking about people outside the body.
Right.
So we look at what he says here, put on then. I love that phrase, by the way. I just think it's interesting to put it on.
Put on then.
Like you're going to wear it. And I don't mean...
It's like, well, I used it this morning. It's like clothe yourself. Peter used that. Clothe yourself with humility.
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
The very same concept, though.
I think so.
As God's chosen ones. So if we're going to acknowledge that we are in the kingdom and we are God's children,
right?
We have to do these things.
Mm-hmm.
Paul told the church at Ephesus in a very similar fashion as to what he's saying here. Well, he actually goes on to say it in verse 14 here, put on love. He says to the church at Ephesus, kind of this lead-in language, he says, do these things in love, which is kind of the same concept here, but he's telling us to have compassionate hearts, to be kind, to be humble, to be meek, to be patient. All of those are aspects that we have with one another as members of the church. Mm-hmm. But I can't help but believe there's no way you can do that and not have a natural extension of that to the people that are outside the body of Christ. If you want to be the kind of person that exhibits the right mindset and right lifestyle to them, right?
Right.
I mean, you can't have a compassionate heart towards another Christian and then be
cold to the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
Not have compassion to them. Now, would we refer to that particular behavior as grace? I don't know. And that's a nuance on the word that I haven't thought a whole lot about.
Okay.
But in the end, it's certainly a behavior that we should have inherent to who we are.
That's true.
And
That's true.
it's not always easy, right? I mean, if you're interacting with people, and again, not somebody that is a member of the Lord's church, but somebody that's outside you're interacting with in society, it doesn't always feel like you want to be kind.
You want to make an impact in the lives of others, especially if they haven't yet obeyed the gospel.
Yes.
You want to be able to be that person.
That's a good way to put it.
And so, as you said, we are talking to Christians here in this passage. So let's continue in verse 13 and just add to what we already have.
Yep.
It's going to compound the whole feeling. And it kind of, as they say, gets you in the feels.
Okay. In the feels.
The feels.
F-E-E-L-L-S.
Yes. The feels of, wow. You know, it just gives you that feeling of goodness.
Yep.
Of, I'm so glad I'm there.
Okay.
So he says, bearing with one another, and if one has a complaint against another, forgiving one another, as the Lord has forgiven you, so you also must forgive. So just as God forgives us, we should forgive other people, and that kind of gives us that feeling of family. You know, if the Father can forgive, we should be able to forgive.
Yes,
it's a part of it. It's a part of it. And above all these things, we put on love, which binds everything together. And here it comes, in perfect harmony.
Wow.
I mean, it brings it. I think it just brings it together.
Yeah.
The Bible is poetry in motion, and we are living it out and should be living it out in the world today. In what it means to serve God, but also to know how to be there for each other in the family, but also to how to encourage others to become a part of the family.
Yep.
You know. So I think when we talk about grace with one another, we're also talking about something that we want everybody else to get too. Yes. Grace is a great thing. You obey the gospel, grace will carry you through if you're obedient. But if you're not, it does nothing for you. You got to know who he is. You got to be able to appreciate and to bring in and be able to be the beneficiary, to use words you like, a beneficiary of perfect harmony.
I almost felt like just before you started that last phrase, there was a mic drop. I almost felt like we should have just. Well, if I'd have had one here, I'd just boom.
I was in your
you were in the zone.
Your business, the insurance thing, and kind of bring it all together. Yeah, it's good. It's eternal insurance.
Yes,
it's great. It's good stuff. But that perfect harmony is neat. I like it.
Yeah, and it can. Well, let me ask you the question: how challenging is this? Sometimes in life,
so hard. So hard. We get so wrapped up in the day to day, we forget about what it means to be there for one another.
Yeah, and I think it. I think it. One of the challenges, at least I find for me, is that we get sucked into the minutia, and can't step back out of it. So, I mean, I'm thinking about just little things in life. You're driving in the car and somebody quick cuts in front of you, and it immediately affects your mood. And it's hard when those things in life happen. I'm not talking specifically about the car, but interacting with somebody and they say something and it just immediately has an effect on you, and it's hard to step back from that in that very specific moment and think about kindness and compassion and humility and meekness. Not everybody is challenged by the same thing, but I think that really is one of the things that for us as Christians needs to be a constant work in progress, that we don't let the moment define how we respond to it.
That's true.
We kind of ease back a little bit, let it marinate.
Yeah.
I think that's hard to do.
I know. Because sometimes we get kind of distracted by what is going on in the world today. I don't know why I talk slow on that one. But we get distracted about things that occur to us, and it's that, are you kidding me right now? Did that just happen? And
you said that in your sermon.
Did I really?
Yeah.
I just
Are you kidding me right now?
I had the face right now. But it was one of those things.
And you had the face with it too.
I did.
It was priceless.
I hated showing that face, but it is what it is. So
you should have seen it when I was looking at it.
I'm
in the sound room looking at the camera.
Oh yeah,
like it's up close and personal.
Happening? Oh, I hope you didn't do a snapshot or a zoom in.
Well, not as far as you know.
That's true. So yesterday, I work like every day this week, but Saturday I said, you know what? I'm staying home. No problem. Staying home. Well, I went and I did. I keep talking about this. I don't know why it keeps coming up. I went and got my haircut. And after that, I picked up breakfast for Steph, the kids. I left kind of early, 8:30, got out there, haircut 9, pick up stuff at Chick-fil-A, come home. It's in the car. I'm coming home. And I'm driving by where the pharmacy is, and I need to pick something up.
Okay.
For me. And I'm not sick. It's just I got to have something every now and then. And so I stopped by, and I asked for it. I said, I need this, please. And the lady at the window, and I waited like 30 minutes behind the car. I waited 30 minutes. I'm like, how long does it take to fill up a bag with what you need, sign your little thing, and move on your way? And my patience was running thin because I had breakfast in the car. I was ready to bring home to the Steph and the kids. And so when I finally got up there, I said, Sperlin, this is my date of birth, whatever, I need this. The lady kind of looked towards me and said, do you need me to order that? I said, well, I mean, I didn't say this, but I'm thinking in my mind, I'm like, okay, think about what you're going to say next, Paul. Be careful what you're going to say next. I'm literally
Compassion.
in my car, sitting, looking at this window, and this lady is talking to me, and I'm at the pharmacy. I need a drug of sorts, and she asked me if I need her to order it. And I'm thinking, yes, ma'am, I need you to order it. That's why I'm here. I mean, I want to say, are you kidding me right now? I'm at Walmart. Please get me what I need, or I'm going to Arby's, or I was at Chick-fil-A. I should have asked them if they could order me what I need. But no, I'm at the pharmacy because you're the one that has it. I'm going off here. But yeah, it's about needing to keep the compassion line going and check the what am I trying to say here? The patience angle.
I'm not even sure what I would have done.
I mean, like,
those
yes,
that know
I
me
need you
are
to do
thinking
that.
of some things I might have done.
I had a Les moment. Did I have a Les moment?
You probably did.
I mean, I literally thought of you. I thought, what would Les say? But I'm like, I'm here. You have what I need. If you don't have it, yes, ma'am, I need you to order that, please.
Or you could go get somebody else, but somebody here's got to order it.
I mean, I guess I go to Publix and see what they got, but I don't know. You're my people. My doctor's upstairs. That's what's so ironic. I live in Ball Ground. My doctor's is upstairs. And the pharmacy is downstairs.
Oh.
It's awesome. It's great. And that's why I use them, because it's so close. But yes, I need a drug. And no, I can't get it anywhere else. I need you to order it for me. Thank you. And it just blew my mind.
For the since we're not video, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you folks, I'm sitting here with a look on my face like I don't really know what to say because I don't know what I would have done.
I mean,
in the moment where you get the
I literally said,
it's the strangest thing.
Yes, ma'am. I need you to order that for me, please. Literally.
So parlaying that into what we're talking about.
Yes.
Every day you have moments.
That's right.
Throughout the day where you're challenged.
Right.
By something that, and yours is different than mine, maybe.
Sure.
Listener, you probably have something
absolutely
different, but you're challenged every single day by the things that people do that cause you not to want to be compassionate or kind or meek or gentle or any of those other Bible thoughts.
So was that me offering grace?
I think it was you exhibiting an outward Christian.
Yeah. Because I think for the most part I'm a kind person. I try not to come across as a punk.
I think that's fair.
But when she said that, it just hit me wrong. I've been waiting so long. My phone's getting cold. It doesn't take long to put it back and go.
I will tell you, you do a much better job of tempering your response to somebody than I do.
Okay.
Because I might have said something snarky to her.
I was thinking
I mean, it's possible, and then I would feel bad because I do most of the time when I respond that way. But
well, and what got me the most, what put me not on the defensive, but what prepared me was that I had been studying all week for a sermon entitled "Being Approachable Like Jesus." And so, that being said, it's like, well, the Lord prepared me for that one, but still,
maybe that's like maybe you're right.
I guess so.
Or maybe it was just straight up life coincidence.
Could be.
I'd rather
give it to God. But.
I know it's a little bit of a tangential thing, but I just can't in my heart ascribe every single thing that happens in life to being providentially what,
Look what God did.
I think God put the world in play.
Yes,
and
that's
some
true.
things just are because of the way
Fair.
he made things work
For
and
sure.
run and made people to be people.
Yeah.
But having said that, you can't ask.
No, that's true.
I mean, not really. I mean, at some point you get the chance to ask.
Guess you can, but
Well, you can, but
won't hear things for a little while. Keep reading. I mean, not reading, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
In your Bible, keep reading. We won't do this today, but next
I
week we'll
actually-
finish it up.
And
probably.
I actually did want to talk about that next phrase,
Okay, yeah, go ahead.
and let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts, to which indeed you were called in one body, and be thankful. And I think there's an aspect of that can drive some of this for us.
Right.
I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast, but I've told people for years one of the challenges we have in living in this world is the definition of peace.
Mm-hmm.
Because peace is not an absence of conflict. That's not what it's not.
True.
The Bible definition of peace. The Bible definition of peace is more your relationship with your Heavenly Father and His Son.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where you find your peace.
Right.
You're always going to be at conflict with things in the world, sometimes with each other.
Yeah.
But the peace comes from knowing you're in a saved state with Jesus, and you can let that prevail.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that peace of Christ in your heart, knowing who you are, who owns you, and the others around you are like that.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
And hopefully it drives you to be more compassionate.
I think so.
And Paul, really, sometimes it's the people that you it's always the people with whom you surround yourself.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you have people in your life like a Paul Spurlin that is generally compassionate and kind to others,
Try to be.
hopefully that rubs off
Yeah.
on you, right?
Yeah, that's
I mean,
right.
if that's who you interact with,
That's true.
if you're always around people that are mean and nasty, you got a much higher probability of having that.
You become the majority of who you spend your time with.
That's
for the most
right.
part.
Yeah,
Good
yeah,
call.
very interesting. Okay,
So that's grace.
so that takes us through the concept of grace.
Yeah, I
Not that
think
we
so.
answered all the questions,
But send them on if you got them.
and we're just going to find out if anybody comes up to us and says the word
Grace.
grace.
For Les Senifer, I'm Paul Spurlin. This has been Coffee Convo with Les and Paul, 30 Minutes for God. Thank you again to Piedmont Road Church of Christ and Ministry League for producing and helping us make this show happen. And thank you, the listener, for being here. We look forward to being with you over that next cup of coffee.